Hi, I'm Marca, the founder of Sage Home, and I'm sitting here with Marilee, who was an original Sage Home board member. Marilee has been an educator for many, many years, and she went back to school to get her counseling degree and is now a therapist in town. And we're just going to answer some questions about Sage Home and help you know a little bit more about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, and I am very excited to be back with Sage Home and being part of everything that's going on right now, which there is a lot. However, I think we need to go back to, really the foundation and tell me, a little bit about Sage Home. What is it about?
Okay, so Sage Home aims to be a residential family-based treatment, which means that mothers that are struggling with addiction or pregnant women that are struggling with addiction can receive residential treatment and bring their kids with them.
Nice. And so is that a model like that you just thought of, or is there something else like that in the state or in our country, or,
Yeah, so at the time I wasn't aware of any of this, and I sat down and I was having a conversation with my friend, and her sister-in-law was in town, and I was saying, like, man, this isn't working, like what we're doing right now in Flagstaff, it's not working for mothers. And she said, well, have you ever thought about, keeping families together? And I was like, yes, like that's it. And, now I know that this person that I was talking to was a part of this 30 years ago and is like an expert in the field of residential family-based treatment. And she has been by our side the whole time and has really helped us see the vision of how important it is for that mother-child connection when it comes to addiction treatment. And there's places all over the country that are doing this. Not very many. We definitely would like to see more. And they have really high success rates. And right now there are 0 in northern Arizona.
Not one in northern Arizona?
No.
Are there any in our state at all?
Yes, there's a couple in Phoenix, and there's one in Tucson that I'm aware of. And I believe there's another one, but I can't remember where it was located. So like about 4.
But it really doesn't provide opportunities for our communities around northern Arizona to be able to have that readily at hand.
Exactly. So
as an option.
Yeah, Coconino County, there's not an option, which really makes it hard on the child welfare system because they're so limited in options. Because on the one hand, kids aren't safe if their parents are actively abusing substances. So child removal is a way to keep the kids safe, but at the cost of that connection.
Right. So this home would be then to have them, keep them in a safe place with their parent, with their mother, while she is going through the process.
Exactly.
To be that healthy mom.
Yeah. It would be an alternative to child removal. And the dads would hopefully still be involved, but at this time, it would be a residential treatment for pregnant and parenting women.
Gotcha. Okay. So tell me the story behind it, right? I mean, there's got to be a story. Why this? I know how you came up with it and all of that, but really, what's the storyline?
Yes, great question. So I was working as a lead therapist on a residential unit for a community mental health agency here in Flagstaff. Great agency. We had a wonderful team. It was basically 30-day treatment, although some people were able to go a little bit longer. And I noticed that it wasn't enough. And by that, some stories stick out really clearly in my mind, because the typical client, they would come in really not really wanting to be there, feeling pretty bad. And then they would get better over the month.
Sure.
And by the time treatment was over, there was this sense of, I can do this. I have what it takes. I can get out in the world. And, whether that was true or not, they, at least when they left, they had this optimism about them. But when it came to these mothers, it was totally different rhythm and pattern. And the stories that stick out to my mind are these moms that came straight from the hospital. And the one that I'm thinking of, she had a kid, her first kid, the day before. And she came in with all sorts of energy. She was ready to fight.
Yeah. And
she was showing up early to groups, and she was doing everything she could to get her kid back. Lots of energy, lots of that fight that you want to see in a client I'm going to do this. And unfortunately for her situation, there wasn't a foster family in town, which meant that her baby was a couple hours away. And the way that it worked out, she was only able to see her a couple hours a week. And something that I noticed is all of that energy, all of that fight started to dramatically change.
Sure.
She didn't know how to hold her baby. She was really afraid to change her baby's diaper. She got really stressed when her baby was crying. She didn't know what to do. She wasn't, attuned to her baby because she hadn't been with her baby. And by week 2, she was so depressed that she couldn't get out of her bed. And she couldn't engage in treatment. She didn't finish treatment. She never got her kid back. So it's just, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
If there is a supportive environment and there's all those chemicals that rush through your body after having a baby, if we can harness that, it's an opportunity where there really can be change and healing. And that generational cycle doesn't have to keep looping over and over again.
Right. Because then you also have the infant who had no mother bonding as well.
Yeah.
So, that whole piece is missing as well. And we know what happens with kids who have no bond.
Yeah, well, even with the best foster parent in the world,
Right.
There's still this big question mark
Sure.
of, what happened? Was I not wanted?
Right. Who am I?
Exactly.
What am I?
Yeah.
That whole thing. Yeah.
And, sometimes it's really necessary. Child removal is a necessary option
Absolutely.
at times.
Absolutely.
But what if it was the last resort?
Mm-hmm.
What if the first option was that mom whose eyes lit up when their kid came into the world had enough support to really be there for their kids? And is that even a possibility? And can we dream of that being a possibility?
So what might be some of the barriers for women to get treatment and things like that?
Yes, well, there's quite a few barriers, and especially with women that meet more of those vulnerability categories, those more marginalized groups, socioeconomic. I mean, there's all sorts of social determinants of health that make it very difficult for women to receive addiction treatment. A big barrier is children. There's a sense that they have to hide what's going on because they're afraid that they might lose their kids.
Right.
And right now, without that option, that's a real possibility because DCS, the Department of Child Safety, doesn't have a lot of options. They do have some really cool programs, but they're limited on options. So the fear of losing their kids is a really big driving force to kind of silence it or pretend like it doesn't exist or pretend like they have it under control.
Right. And remain in that sickness loop, not being able to get out of it because they don't know a safe place or a safe place to go and how to do that so they won't lose their kids.
Exactly.
Right.
And the same is true with pregnancy.
Sure.
A lot of pregnant women avoid going to the doctor because they don't want to
be discovered.
Exactly.
That's right.
So what we know from research is that if we can intervene early, then there's a lot better chances of that baby being born healthy and that mom being born healthy because the mom's an active participant in all this.
Because the plan would start while she's pregnant. It's not like it has to start once she gives birth. She can start the whole plan and procedure while she's pregnant, so then creating a healthier future for her and her baby.
Yeah, so it allows the mom to really engage as soon as she can. And that's going to require all sorts of partnerships, to make sure that that information is available and for women in our community because there's so much shame and stigma, like being stigmatized that they're going to keep hiding unless they know that there's an opportunity for them to receive treatment in a way that's non-judgmental, in a way that can provide an opportunity for them to continue to be a parent. There's several more barriers. Housing is a big barrier.
Huge.
They have to have, if they get involved in the Department of Child Safety, which if they're abusing substances, like we would hope that someone would be intervening there, they have to have stable housing and they need to have a way to financially care for their children. So now we're talking about moms who probably have their own trauma history, most likely.
Most likely.
Right?
Yeah.
Who probably, have really struggled in life in a lot of ways, that they're using drugs and alcohol to help regulate them or soothe them or whatever the function is there. They might not know how to go about getting housing. They might not know how to write a job application or a cover letter or interview. All of these skills are recovery, right? You can't just do therapy and get better. Like, you have to know that your actions can provide a safe and stable living for yourself and your family.
Right. And that's part of the whole Sage Home's philosophy and their programming, is to provide that type of coaching, provide those types of learning opportunities, life skills, development.
Yeah.
Right.
How to go to the grocery store.
Right.
How to budget. How to cook a healthy meal.
Exactly.
How to find friends.
Yeah. Exactly. Healthy friends.
Yeah. How to have a boundary.
Right.
How to say no. All of these things that maybe wasn't modeled for them in a way that worked. So, they have all sorts of skills, and yet
just buried down deep.
Exactly.
So we want to help them find them, right?
And what a better time when you have all those chemicals on your side.
Yeah. Childbirth.
And it's not just for,
but parenting
newborns
as well.
And kids. There's a real survival energy around keeping a family together.
Right.
And a real loss of that when it's separated, because hopelessness is just so heavy. So if we could provide an environment that fostered hope, and it wouldn't work for everybody, but I think it would work for a lot of moms, because people want to be good parents. People want to have a life that's meaningful and connected to their values.
Yeah.
They don't do that because they get pulled away because of trauma, or because of addiction, or because of poverty. There's all of these things that
struggle,
just make it so much harder.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So family-based residential treatment takes a lot of barriers away and provides an opportunity to be in a safe enough space to really work on the things that are keeping them from living that life that they're trying to live.
Absolutely.